Welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Line. I'm Samuel,
And I'm Charleton.
taking a deep dive in the arts of mime and choreography. How you doing, Charleton?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, life's all right, except I'm not here.
You feel like a little distant right now, like a little incorporeal to me.
Right, exactly. I'm a disembodied spirit, and I need to be, this thing like creation.
Yeah, you need to be like something to give you form.
Right. Would you mind doing some special effects?
I'll figure something out.
Well, thanks, Charleton.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Glad I could help.
Thanks, editor Charleton, for creating me. I don't know. Song's creation.
Yeah.
Project Understory.
So this is our Project Understory. This is going to be song number 1.
Yeah.
This is creation. Where do you start? Of course, creation.
We've done different creation stuff, but for the next couple weeks, we're going to do the trilogy of creation, Genesis, and that thing. So it's going to be Genesis June.
Genesis June.
Because it totally works.
Yep. Don't mind that they're different letters. It's
Don't
the
question
same sound.
Phonetic sound.
Yeah.
So, some stats on the song.
Yep. So this song was choreographed by Stephanie Bloyer, Tessa's younger sister. So we can mention
We
Tess.
can do the bit.
No, and honestly, like Stephanie, phenomenal choreographer.
Oh,
Like
the song.
I feel
yes.
like the worst song that she's written is still probably like
9 times
better than
that.
better than my song. So, I was really excited when she said that she was like, yeah, I'll write a song for you, and I was like,
Yes. No. And like creation, the story has been done we've talked about all the minds that were like creation to cross. This song, like the fact that it can just sit on creation is amazing.
And not only just sit on it, but does it in such a unique way that I feel like this song stands alone in such a fascinating way that I think is really good.
Top tier creation song, but
yeah,
let's not spoil it.
Yep.
Songs from this one's 2021. I know Stephanie had taught it to her team a little before that, so somewhere in the pandemic season or just after is when it got choreographed, but nevertheless.
Yep.
Let's take a dive.
Also, one little small bit of information. This song is called Creation by my assertion thereof.
Oh, yes.
Because it was originally called Undying, because the song that's used is actually, this is Project Understory, so it's all Undertale music.
Link below to the Undying song.
Yeah, it was Undying, the Undying boss fight theme, which then, of
music.
course, awesome music. Toby Fox, I think, writes excellent music, which is why I was really excited to, start this project with just Undertale music, because really good music. Neither here nor there. The thing that I'm trying to say is, like, it was called Undying, and that's the thing that allowed Stephanie's team to understand which song that they were talking about. I don't know why that was the thing, because calling it Creation maybe was too generic.
I mean, it is a little undescript if you want to go by that means, like, if you have other songs that have creation in it, but this is the only one that had, like, only creation.
Yeah.
Like, every other creation song, you have to get to the fall, which we'll get to in 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, this song just focuses on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so when I look at this song, and every time I hear that's called Creation, I'm like, it is called Creation because I said it is. As the executive director of Project Understory, I am asserting that it is, because we can't have a non-C name song.
I mean, fair.
So that's basically my only reason for wanting to change it. Because, of course, we are going to do Creation, and then we're going to do, Contempt, and then Corruption, and later on, and as we've already done, there's
Curator.
Christ. And
Curator instead of judges, it's curator.
Curator, yep.
Curator.
And then there's the Moses trilogy, which is Commencement, Called, and Compact.
Yeah,
and
Compact
then,
as in, like Leviticus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a pretty good C name.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the C names. Let's take a deep dive.
Yeah, let's do this.
So yeah, this one, San Diego team, 2021 Mime Camp.
Yep. Oh, and one thing that I think is really interesting, if you look at the 3 costumes for these, for the Trinity. Of course, this is the Trinity, by the way. It's not just God as one character.
Yeah.
They're working in unison. But you notice the style of how each character is portrayed. You have Jesus, who has the sash over the right shoulder, God, who has a sash over the left shoulder, and then the Spirit with the sort of loose scarf over
unity yet diversity. Mm-hmm. I should also mention they make 3 of the archangels. Mm-hmm. So we have Lucifer, Michael, and what am I blanking? Gabriel.
Yeah.
The 3 main only named angels that we have in the Bible.
Yep. And also one thing,
I love this effect. The hand up and the other hand's out. Like,
super good. And also, like, the Holy Spirit being female. It's kind of a controversial take, but you got like the fact that God isn't male or female, so probably
let
fine.
us make man in our image, male and female, whatever. But neither here nor there, because mime is neutral gender. Of course. That'll be another podcast we talk about. But we're not making any theological claims there. It's just partly the people we had also. But I do love this like 3-tiered layer of the earth that's being created.
We got like the core in the center, I think is kind of
right in the water, and then the crust. Now I will say, it's not as clear right away. It takes a little bit to see what they're doing. But I do love that most of the song is set up with Trinity creating. Because often we attribute creation just to God the Father. And then we're like, well, the Spirit was there. But no, like when he says, let us make him in our image, like that shows that they're all involved throughout the process. Jesus himself referring back to it being there and creating actively.
Right, and if you go to John 1, it talks about in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, the Word was God, and so on. And then it talks about like nothing was made that was made apart from him. So.
Yeah. No, and again, we have the 3 tiers of like sun, moon, stars, different animals that are filling those environments that were created of water, mountains, and trees, and birds. We've switched around to later iterations, like having the birds be made with the trees and the fish be made with the ocean, but nevertheless, it showed the Trinity in that way.
Yep.
But what's interesting is we have all that setup of them doing individual things, and now they've all come together. Let us make humanity in our image, Adam.
Yep. And one of the things that's really fun about this is like when he creates Adam and Eve, he ends up like being detailed on things. That's one of the things when we've done the song ourselves is like we add ears, we add like hair, it's very deliberate and specific as opposed to just being like blah, 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 which I think is a neat effect that kind of like if you're looking for the details, it's really
I love this moment of the Godhead agreeing.
They're all agreeing,
which is interesting because like they didn't have to decide, but they chose the unison-ness of like it is not good that man should be alone, so they rightly figure this out, like we're gonna do this. It makes sense.
Yep. And I really like this kind of scene where it feels like God is treating this as like this is sacred. The holy sacred side of the human to
form woman. Yep. No, and that's something that's a cool effect is if you want to emphasize something, you can spend more time on it. All of creation happened relatively quickly, but both Adam and Eve get made over a long period of time. Like this is intentionally built up and developed with good dramatic music. That little effect of 1, 2, 3, and then they go back on those beats and then breathe at the same time. Again, diversity yet unity and divinity. We're probably going to be some heretics about the Trinity somewhere in here.
Yeah, well,
we're not trying to be.
Part of the issue, which we'll get into in critiques, is like, how do you portray an infinite God in finite universe?
True.
Like, what happened before the universe was created? What was God like? What time was he dwelling in? Things like that. There's like, well, we don't know, and neither can we even attempt to explain it because like so far above our comprehension. So
but we are drastically reducing in order for our tiny little brains to understand this infinite God. Yeah. So we're not making much, we're not trying to make some super deep Arianistic or modalistic claims of heresy or whatever.
Yeah, no, we're trying to do what we can with what we have, and what we have is finite human beings.
Right, you can yell at us in the comment if we had a woman play God. It's not. We're not making massive claims from it. Okay.
Yeah. What are we? The shack.
Yeah. Exactly. Heresy. So that's our song. Purpose and message. Well, Project Nerd Story. We've talked about it before. We don't need to go into it. And then purpose, just creation. And I love that the intentional limiting of what the song is trying to do makes us be more profound in details and trying to get all of it out of it rather than just like creation across.
Yep. And once again, we talked about in other Project Understory songs, this was one of the core 7, core 5 even before the core 7 was like creation. And of course, if I remember correctly, it went creation was one and then fall was another.
Yeah.
And then immediately we went to nativity, crucifixion, resurrection.
You were going to do creation to cross, weren't you?
No, that was Jarek. Remember, this was originally Jarek's idea. That kind of
blaming Jarek.
I'm blaming Jarek.
I'm all for blaming Jarek.
I kind of like convinced him to add the 2 Old Testament songs, which would have been more or less like pulling a lot of stuff to progress to look forward to Jesus. So,
are you even dispensationalist? That's a joke.
Get out of here.
That's a joke. I hope you can
Cut
laugh
that.
with me
No,
as-
cut that. No, but like when it comes down to it, those are kind of like the core principles of the gospel message is like, where did we come from? There are, what is it? There's like 4 questions about worldview. There's like origin, destiny, purpose, something else.
And glucose marketable.
I think you're right. Yeah, and so like any worldview that you can even ever come up with can answer or attempts to answer those questions.
Ideas. Yep.
And this one answers, of course, the question of origin, which is why, I believe
Genesis.
that Genesis is so important for Christian theology and even Judaism.
Yep.
Is like we know this is where we came from. So then to portray that in Project Understory, being a survey of the Bible, we linger on creation and the fall for like 3 songs.
Yep.
Which I think is pretty interesting because usually it's creation and fall in one song, or creation, fall, and then Jesus in one song.
Right.
And so like this one dwells just on the creation. And I think that
something that gets, I think, under, like, it doesn't get emphasized enough in the Bible. Sometimes we get in this debate of, the literal account of creation and it's, figurative language or whatever you want to say it is. But one thing that the Bible definitely does is it creates hyperlinks, or it creates intentional markers that later biblical authors pick up and like develop. And so we'll talk about that when we get to the, different parts, the fall particularly, but we're trying to do that in our project as well, where what we're setting up at the beginning, the later songs will pick up and use similar imagery. So we're going to have, the Trinity eventually in all the Project Understory doing different parts or different callbacks to creation of like how Adam and Eve were supposed to be made. I want to, when we get to the Revelation song, however we're going to do that one, don't ask us yet.
We have been debating on that one for like a year and a half now.
One of the things that I want to do is show the restoration in the sense of back to what creation was supposed to look like from the beginning of a perfect world. And so I almost want a similar picture of ending scene where instead of just Adam and Eve coming together and everything is right in the world, having like all of humanity in front of the Trinity and a callback to like the garden, because we even see that in Revelation where you have the tree of life showing up again. You're like, this is what the restored order is supposed to look like. So how we're going to do it, what we're setting up here is going to later be picked up and trying to mirror what the Bible does in that way.
This is really strange to think about, but like we're writing, we've written this song several years ago. I say Stephanie wrote this several years ago. And now here in 2024, we're recording a video about it. There is going to be a point in time in the future where like the whole Project Understory is going to be done. And the things that we're saying right now are going to be like antiquated.
Oh, totally. But I mean,
interesting.
It's kind of like when you watch things, from 4 years ago about the pandemic that we all lived through. Mm-hmm. And they say things like, in these unknown times, we're like, no, they're pretty known now. Yeah. Like mm-hmm. We knew exactly what's going to, and it's just interesting, part of learning from history of different perspectives. But regardless, neither here nor there, when we get to the end of this, we're going to look back and be like, this podcast was probably helpful for developing these things more. Sure.
Yeah. And of course, for people who are following the project, I feel like, this is nice to kind of talk about it and get people's opinions.
We're very excited about this, and hopefully this can wrap up in a year or two here. That's kind of our goal we're shooting for. We'll see how it goes.
Gosh, I'm so excited, but like we don't have the opportunities to do these kinds of things.
If you were a mime team and you want to learn these songs, talk to us, because we will literally fly out to you and teach you songs.
I will happily spend my own money to go to your team to teach this.
That is our limiting factor, and hopefully it would be a benefit to you learning new cool mime songs that you can use in your presentation, not just random Leviticus songs. But I don't know when we're going to use that song compact enough.
I feel like apart from Project Understory, it would only be if you used it in like the Trilogy of Moses.
Possibly.
And even then it's like...
there's a chance you use it at a VBS. You need to talk about that. Yeah, most VBSs aren't going to talk about it.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of like... If it has like very
it
little
does have a niche purpose.
It is a thing that if it was like, wow, you know what we're talking about Leviticus today? We need a mime song? There is one that exists.
Here we go.
Anyways,
praiseworthy aspects of this song. It's a dang good song.
It's phenomenal.
Music is awesome, and the matching of different aspects to the music makes a lot of sense. The 1, 2, 3 together aspect it nails the concept of the Trinity. And we'll talk about it more in the theological section, but I think is rightly praiseworthy of our God, where it feels epic.
Yep. Honestly, that's my biggest praise is like oftentimes we can kind of feel like creation is sort of just trying to get somewhere. It feels like we're just like, this is okay. So we're
A
created.
necessary means,
We got to get through it. But like this
But no,
one, it
this
dwells
is the
on
end.
it and it makes it feel awesome. And I just really like it. And the fact that there's the Trinity, like just the fact that the
Breaking
Trinity
bounds here.
exists.
Yes.
You know, I'd already get
Let
style
alone
points for that.
The Holy Spirit, like
Yeah.
a future podcast about future appearances of the Holy Spirit. We didn't do it before. It just didn't show up.
The Trinity of Mime was usually God, Jesus, and Satan.
Yeah, it's kind of.
That's the long running joke about the Mime Trinity.
True.
And you know, it sounds really, really bad, but it's
Well,
like
it's
that's
kind
my
of-
point.
Yes, that's what we showed.
Yeah.
No.
And so, you know, I mean, look at like Courtroom, for example. That's a great example. But like with this, we get the actual Trinity of, you know, them working in unity and also in diversity. You have their unique aspects, but also their
Unity of
collective
will.
aspects.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know, I think it does a really good job. And then it's super epic, you know?
No, and
it does great.
Showing the different atmospheres. So it doesn't necessarily go like day 1, day 2, day 3.
Yeah.
But it does do the thing, you know, first 3 days of creation are kind of the atmospheres, right? And then the second 3 days, the second set of 3.
Second
4, 5, 6. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Days 4, 5, and 6
fills those atmospheres, and it does do that where you have the creation of like heaven and earth are first, followed by the sun, moon, stars, and then you have the atmospheres of water, mountains, trees filled with the animals that are appropriate to them, and all that works really well. And then we get to kind of what you would call day 6, where Adam and Eve are created and then brought together.
Right. And then you could kind of lean like there's allusion to it, but maybe not as deliberate as it could be, is like the 7th day of creation where God rests. That's pretty much like at the very
end of the song. Right.
Like the end of the song, like they come together and the Godhead is like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
It's good.
It is finished. Wait, wrong one.
Wait, what?
I mean, kind of, but not really.
Yeah.
We'll get into the second song. But I mean, I can't say enough. It's a good song.
Yeah,
And
it's great.
I don't know if there's anything else I'd specifically point out, but all those details work really well.
Yep.
So things you might critique on it.
It's an awful song. Hate like every single aspect. I'm just kidding.
Wait. What? No, I think my only thing is in the depiction of a few of those things. I love how stylistic it gets, but the creation specifically of light, I don't know how else you would show it.
You get like the stage lighting to
kind
just
of.
Like,
I don't know how you would. Whenever we do the project, we might add that because that's a cool idea. But the first time I saw God creating things, it didn't quite click with me, and the same thing with the earth. You know, the core, and partly because just showing the core is a really hard technique. So I don't know if that's more in the difficulty category or whatnot, but there's just one or two aspects where I'm like, what is it that they created? And again, maybe it's just that it's difficult to portray, and our team didn't do well here. But either way, it's something that I might figure out how to develop a little bit more. But I'm nitpicking.
Yeah. Now, and I think one of the things that feels a little bit like it is really drawn out is the actual creation of Adam and Eve. Feels like it's a little bit of filler. Now, granted, it feels really detailed and really cool and epic.
Yeah.
In how Adam is brought up and Eve is brought up.
It matches the music, so it's hard. I don't know what else you would do.
Yeah,
but
I don't know what
at
else
the
you would
same
do.
time, I think because there's the detail orientedness of what you're creating, you know, forming eyes, ears, mouth, that kind of stuff, and it's the thing that we need to focus on, the kind of the pinnacle of creation up to that point. Like that feels appropriate, and all the more so than when Eve is created in a similar and like manner. Both of those feel like it's worthy of the time to emphasize. You know, spend your time on what you want to emphasize, and that does that. So I wouldn't say it's a knockoff.
Well, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. If I was to have my 2 cents, which of course I do. I'm an opinionated man.
Yeah.
No, but I would almost argue that as Adam and Eve are being built up, that certain aspects of them are being like highlighted. So for example, you know, he lifts up his arm and somebody like creates the arm and the fingers and everything. And then when the person's, you know, head is made, they come up and they like eyes brighten up and they're more created, like you might say like a husk. And then when the breath is put into them and they receive, you know, their life, then instead of it being just a husk of a man, it's like, oh, this is a full being.
Sure.
You know, something like that to kind of give it a little bit more than just, you know.
Right, because it's kind of like more of a clay ball coming up right now, but maybe we can show the detail of each element of that.
Yeah, no, something like that. I feel like it would fill it up and make it a little bit more interesting. It works along with what
was already happening, right? We're already adding details, so why not just go the next mile and keep doing it?
Yeah.
That's fair. I like that.
All right. It was just me spitballing,
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
What? No, anyways.
And then theologically, we already talked about a lot of it,
Yep.
but the Trinity in creation, completing, doing all of that. What else did we talk about? The restoration of mankind would be more the Revelation song, but
Yep. Yeah. We don't care about other things other than creation. Like this is just creation. So all of the aspects of the fall and sin and redemption and stuff like that, we don't care about that. So we're leaving that. It's on a separate table. The table's over there. We'll address that table
exactly.
later.
No, and the importance of Genesis in our theology, even though I personally hold to a literal creation narrative, I know others don't. And I would recognize either way that there's a significance in the details of why it matters, right? In the story that it's telling. It's not just throwaway. I would encourage those who think that it is history to know that it's not just history, that it has elements of saying this is why it's important. That's why we break out a poem when Adam and Eve are getting created, right? I would say the rest of it's historical narrative, but then when he gets into in the image of God he created them, like we're breaking out a poem to show the meaningful part of this aspect. And I think that's where this song hits well in the theology.
Right. And with that, God created the world deliberately. It's not like, God is some unfeeling, unknowing force where he just kind of did things arbitrarily. It feels like he did things really deliberately.
Right. And also included in the song, it's not God being like, I wonder how I'm going to make this. No, he goes, I'm going to do it this way so that they will see me. I'm going to rest on the seventh day because even though I'm God and I don't need rest, they're going to need rest. And their rest is going to be patterned off the way that I did things. And so it's deliberate, intentional. So regardless of the debate of how historical you think it is, you have to know that this is the foundation for how the Bible gets interpreted. And it's amazing that all the connections that come from Genesis here.
Yeah. And it's really easy to kind of just move away from God being some external force, but it's like, no, because he's so personal, that's why these things are so important. And so
and
interesting and
there,
cool.
Right? When God's looking around at each other, we're not trying to say that they're trying to decide, but at the same time, they're like, this is what it's supposed to be. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty great.
Awesome. All right. Clarity, difficulty, style. We already did the style at the beginning where I, showed up randomly.
Yeah. He showed up.
I was created.
It's a great way to put it.
So clarity, you're going to get that it's a creation song.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's one or two parts that I think we want to depict differently, like the earth and the light. But I don't know what else I would take off for, so I'm going to give it a 9.
Yeah. No, clarity. One of the things that's really hard with instrumental songs is that you don't have lyrics to kind of lean on.
Lyricless songs.
And so this one doesn't have any lyrics to lean on, but it does it phenomenally to the point where it's like,
I'm not going to add them.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. Like you see that creation is occurring and you see everything that's happening. Even if you're maybe not super familiar with the creation story, I feel like you're
going to get it.
So I'm going to give it a 9 as well.
Good stuff. And then difficulty. The background parts have cues that they have to hit without visual cues. So like cues that they have to stand or do certain motions with. So there is difficulty in the background parts, even if they don't do a lot. They have to hit those and listen.
Right. I feel like the difficulty isn't with like the actual things, but it's with the music. Because once again, the music doesn't have lyrics.
Instrumental.
And it is also kind of like a song that moves in progressive like movements, if you will, as opposed to it being like enough variation that you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
You actually have nothing to go with except for the song itself.
Yeah.
So.
No, and because we're trying to show the divinity, right? Like the Trinity doing things together is so important that the difficulty like ramps up from them, because technically they could do it off cue and it would be like there, but it would just miss that unity that we're trying to show among the Godhead.
Right.
And so doing things in unison, doing things on cue, and then doing things with good technique. That's a lot to add to it. Yeah. No backflips, no flags, but it's our 2 metrics.
Maybe not right now. No.
I mean, heck, if we could add flags to this if you want me to. I already added them to the resurrection.
Water. We get the water has like
we flags, already used streamers for water earlier. Would be a cool callback. Actually, we should do that.
There you go.
Because technically, we're trying to make those strands so that when Jesus walks on water, future Charleton, look at the song Christ. We don't have don't use the version that was at Mime Camp because we forgot the problem. We forgot the problem.
I might not even have a version.
I have the version, no.
Okay,
but we actually use streamers. But yeah, we could use streamers in the first song to, again, make that nice little correlation of Jesus walking on water. You got water on both of them.
Yep.
There's
And
ties.
like, one thing I'm looking forward to is when we do the song with the flood, where we have like rainbow flags.
Yeah.
So like when the when they hit the Mount Ararat,
right?
Whatever,
Floods waters go down. There's right.
There's
promise of the rainbow.
The promise of the rainbow, and we get a bunch of people doing rainbow flags in the background. It's gonna be sick.
So we need do we need 3 flag twirlers with different colored flags?
So that's what I was saying, where we have like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Like
what about indigo and violet? You gotta love indigo.
I don't care about those colors.
You don't care about indigo?
No.
Dang.
Indigo and violet, low tier purples.
Whoa. Dang. Slang words. I'm gonna remember that. Okay.
No, but like
I like both of those.
I'm a connoisseur of purple. I'm very particular about my purples.
I love indigo.
You can like it. That's okay. Even though they're trash purples, you can like them, Just like you like me and I'm trash.
Oh, okay. So
anyway.
It's devolved a little bit. We shouldn't do 3 episodes in a row this week. So difficulty. I think it's doable with enough practice. A lot of it's on the Trinity. I'm going to give it a 7. I could go up to an 8, but I think a 7 is appropriate.
Well, what's funny is I was actually not thinking I was going to give it a 6.
Yeah.
Because like as much as, the Trinity probably has the hardest part, but everything else is pretty straightforward.
It's cues, easy. But it's minimal.
It's cues, but I mean most songs are. So like there's
instrumental cues. But that makes sense.
And because the instrumental parts, I feel like it gives a few extra points from me as well on that. But by and large, it's not really that tough of a song. It looks way harder than I feel like it actually is.
It's again that technique of the Godhead doing things on time with people responding.
It's definitely like most of the points come from the unity of the Godhead, the difficulty of the Godhead, and the fact that it's an instrumental song. I feel like those 3 points give it like a majority of my.
Next time we learn this song, we should just send the Godhead to like somewhere else, or like whenever we're doing this project finally, and we're getting hundreds of mimes from all across the world, like. Those 3 characters just need to like learn all of it by themselves first, because if they know their part, the rest of them can respond pretty quickly and learn it.
Right.
Yep. And then style.
So this is a funny thing.
Mm-hmm.
Creation songs have been done so many times, and we've talked about that. And
we could do a trope playlist of all of the creation songs.
One of the tropes is just straight up a creation song.
Yeah.
And like it's been done so many times, so of course like it's not breaking any bounds with being a creation song. But the fact of how it approaches being a creation song, which I totally appreciate Stephanie in doing this, is like it goes a very specific, directed, unique way with the Trinity, with like the creation of the world and being like the core and the little thing there.
Yeah.
And then it approaching things with very like high sacredness and specificness, and then the unity between the Godhead, like all of that stuff comes together to make something that's already been done a billion times into something very unique. So I give it high praise and style for that.
Yeah, for sure. So what are you going to rate it though?
So on style, I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah. Again, on one hand, it's a simple message where it's, about creation. On the other hand, it breaks those bounds. I'm going to give it a 7. I think it does all those things well.
Yep. And so I totally I feel like there are parts here and there that could probably be improved as far as style goes. But of course, because it's a creation song, you got to meet certain criteria.
Exactly.
But what it did, I think it did phenomenal. So
well done. All right. Pop quiz, Charleton. Ready? Okay. So one thing I do love about the song is, the 3 different tiers of things. But when you say that God is Trinity, like the Trinity of Trinities, past, time, what is it? When God created the world,
time, space, matter,
right? That
length
God,
with height,
right, and then past, present, future, and then what's the other one?
People sometimes use trichotomism. Trichotomism.
Exactly. So, what heresy is that?
Wouldn't that just be like tritheism?
Well, I mean, if you want to go that way, but when you try to use an analogy of the Trinity,
are you talking like modalism?
That's modalism, Patrick. Link down below for that video.
Such a legendary video.
Don't make me stab you in the face. You would understand if you watched the video.
Mash that like, subscribe. You thought I forgot, didn't you?
Yeah, create us some new subscribers. You. Some, yeah. Create some like buttons.
Create
some comments down the
right, and create a discussion in the comments
about all the heresies that we're going to commit about the Trinity.
Yeah. I'm Samuel.
I'm Charleton.
Breaking the line. What? Just try this again.
I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton. Breaking
the line.